Welcome back to Season 2 of Get Schools on Public Education. I'm your host, Brittany Baker, and our Dear New Leader series is all about educating elected officials on important charter school issues. Today, we'll talk about the significance of having public school options, and we'll explore the opportunities ahead for charter schools under a new administration. We have a special guest today, our president and CEO of the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools, Starlee Coleman. Starlee has worked in advocacy, public policy, and political campaigns for 25 years, mostly centered around education reform and related topics. Let's find out why these topics are important to her.
And the reason I think that I'm so drawn to those issues is because they're the underpinning of everything else that we want to have good in our country. If we want a good economy, we have to have an educated workforce. If we want good healthcare outcomes, people need to be able to understand information for themselves and take care of themselves. All of the stuff that we want for a functioning and strong and healthy democracy is really all reliant on making sure that people that people are educated and that they've got great schools. And for so many kids in America today, and has been for a long time, forever, the access to a good public school is dependent on where you live, or how if your parents can afford to put you in private school, or if they can afford to move. And that just that doesn't work for me. That feels wrong and unfair. And that is not what this country is about. Charter schools are one of the ways that we can equalize opportunity for kids across all kinds of backgrounds.
The idea of equalizing opportunity is at the heart of what makes charter schools such a vital part of the public education system. It's all about removing barriers to make sure students nationwide have access to a high quality public education, no matter the zip code. And drawing from her personal experience, Starlee shares her journey in selecting a public school option for her daughter.
So my little girl is 7 years old. Her name is Autumn. And the assigned public school that she is zoned to is awful. 20% of the kids are reading and doing math on grade level. And when you look at the results broken down by race and income, it's worse. 0% of the Black students are reading and doing math on grade level. And that is not okay to me. And I would not put her in a school that can't do better than that. And I don't think any parent should have to.
Unfortunately, this is a reality for too many families, and this is an example of why having access to better public school options is critical. Every parent deserves the opportunity to choose a school that is the best fit for their child. Starlee shares more about the public school option they found for Autumn.
We put her in, when it was time for her to start school, we put her in the lottery for a neighboring public school that has a Spanish immersion program inside the school. So they have one classroom in each grade level that does Spanish immersion. And there were 20 kids selected, and she got pulled in the lottery. But there were hundreds of kids that wanted a spot in the classroom. And so she literally won the lottery. And she's at a very high performing district school here in Austin, Texas, learning Spanish and thriving.
Well, we're excited for Autumn, and I can imagine that Autumn's story is just a part of your motivation. So what keeps you motivated to stay committed to increasing high quality public school options for students and families nationwide?
Yeah, the 80% of the kids who are zoned to my kids' assigned school who can't read and write at grade level. That is criminal to me. I don't know why our struggling students are underperforming literacy rates nationwide, even among middle-class white kids. I don't know why that's not a national emergency. It feels like an emergency to me. There is nothing that we are going to be able to get right in this country if half of our kids can't read. And that's where we are. And it is like mind blowing to me that we just went through a presidential election where nobody talked about it.
So, what are the top things policymakers and the general public should know about charter schools? One is that they're free, public, and open to all. Starlee shares more.
And then I think layered onto that, thinking about the open to all students who want to come, one of the things that I think is really important for people to know is that there are charter schools of all types. It's so interesting to me, the conversations that I have with people about my work and about charter schools, because their personal experience with charters is what like puts them in the mind frame of what they think about charters. So one day I was at a big event, and I was speaking on a big stage, and I was getting my makeup done by a makeup artist. And she asked me, I told her what I did. And she said, oh, my cousin had dropped out of high school and then ended up going back to a charter school. And so to finish and to get her high school diploma. And she said, so are charter schools just for bad kids? And I thought that was really interesting. And I'm like, no, of course not. Right. So I tell her all about charters. And then couple weeks later, I'm getting my hair cut in Austin for the first time by a new person. So this is 6 years ago. And she asked me what I do, and I tell her, and she says, oh, well, her mom teaches at a charter school in North Austin. That's one of the best charter schools in the entire state of Texas. Just an absolutely outstanding school, Meridian World School. So it's like a very, very, very high achieving academic kids, like excellent IB school. Really incredible results. And her younger brother and sister were going to school there. They were in high school there. And so her experience was completely different. So she's talking about how it's an excellent school and my brother and sister are thriving or whatever. And she said, but I mean, it's a charter school. So of course, right? So like her frame of reference is that the kids that go to charter schools are like the really, really outstanding, very academically advanced charter school kids. And then of course, there are families who have stories about how their kids just were not being served. And I was in an Uber going to the airport one day, and a guy asked me this question. I told him what I did, and he said, oh, my kid has autism. And he was really struggling in the district school. The classroom was too big. It was too chaotic. I really needed him to be in a different environment, and we can't afford a private school. And I signed him up for a classical school in our neighborhood called Valor, which he was at the South Austin campus. And he said he's thriving now because there's just less chaos in the classroom. It's really structured. The curriculum is really rigorous and working for him. And so I hear those kinds of stories from right? I mean, that's the array of the types of kids that come to charters for whatever reason. Kids that are struggling, kids that are advanced, and kids that are that have disabilities or special needs. And I think I want people to know that there's a place for all of them in charters. There's a place for every kid in every community all over this country. If your kid needs something different for whatever reason, whether they're struggling or they're soaring or they just need a little extra attention, whatever it is, like there is a place for all kinds of kids in charters.
That's the beauty of charter schools. They are designed to meet children where they are, offering flexibility and innovation to ensure they meet the unique needs of students. Looking ahead to 2025, Starlee talks about the opportunities for charter schools.
We at the Alliance are going to be pushing really hard for a lot more flexibility in the one federal program that is dedicated to charter schools. It's called the Charter School Program. And the rules for that grant program are really, really complex and complicated. And in fact, they're so complicated that sometimes it's hard for us to spend the money that's allocated to the program every year. And so we are going to be asking Congress, with the support of the administration, to really dramatically increase the flexibility inside that program so that the amount of money that is allocated is spent and that it is spent to make sure that more students are in a great public charter school.
For more information about the Charter Schools Program, also known as the CSP, download our previous episode titled Charter Schools Program, Empowering Schools and Students. We want to thank our guest today, Starlee Coleman, our president and CEO at the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. As always, we appreciate you all for listening. I'm your host, Brittany Baker. And remember, charter schools are free, public, and open to all.
Produced by Heartcast Media.